Hi everyone, welcome back. We're really happy you're here with us today.
Hello, friends. It's great to be here again, listening, speaking, and learning English together. If you're new here, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Paul. On this channel, we help you learn real, everyday English, the kind people actually use in daily life.
Yes, not textbook English, not complicated rules, but natural English you can understand and use.
And before we start, if you enjoy learning with us, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us and it helps you keep learning step by step with us.
Okay, today's topic is something many learners find confusing.
Very confusing.
Today we're talking about how to use do and make in everyday English.
Ah, yes. Two small words, big confusion.
Many learners ask, when do I say do? When do I say make?
And the truth is, it takes time to feel the difference.
But today, we're going to talk about it slowly and naturally, with real-life situations. Paul, let me ask you something.
Okay.
This morning, did you do anything special?
I did my exercise.
Good. And after that?
I made coffee.
Perfect. That's already a great example.
You do exercise, you make coffee.
Let's talk about the feeling.
We often use do for activities, tasks, or work.
And we often use make when we create something.
Yes. Something new, something that didn't exist before.
Like coffee.
Or food.
Or a mistake.
Yes, we make a mistake.
That's a very important one.
Now let's slow down with do. Sarah, what are some things people do every day?
People say, I do the laundry, I do the dishes, I do my homework, I do my job.
Very common.
We use do for tasks and responsibilities.
Things we complete.
Things we need to finish. Paul, do you do housework?
Yes, sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah. Sometimes I look at the housework and think about it.
Thinking is also a kind of work.
Yes, mental housework.
Now let's talk about make.
We use make when we create something.
For example, I make breakfast. I make dinner. I make a cake. I make a plan.
You create something new.
Food, ideas, plans, decisions.
Sarah, what do you make in the morning?
I make coffee, and sometimes I make breakfast.
Very natural.
People also say, I make a list. I make a decision. I make a phone call.
That last one is very common.
Now here's something learners often say.
They say, I do a mistake.
But in English, we say,
I make a mistake.
That's one of the most common do versus make errors.
And don't worry if you've said it before.
Everyone makes that mistake.
Yes. And now you know the correct version.
Let's make a short conversation.
I made a mistake at work.
What happened?
I sent the wrong email.
That's real-life English.
Now let's compare something.
Do equals task or activity. I do my homework. I do the cleaning.
Make equals create something. I make dinner. I make a plan.
But don't worry about memorizing this as a rule.
The best way to learn is to hear these expressions many times.
Now let's talk about daily life. Paul, what do you usually do after work?
I do some exercise.
And then
I make dinner.
Very good routine.
Or at least, I make something that looks like dinner.
That's honest.
Now let's talk to our listeners.
If you're listening right now, think about your day.
You probably do work, do your tasks, do your routine.
And you also make coffee, make food, make plans, make decisions.
These words are everywhere in daily life. Sarah, what's something you did today?
I did some emails.
And what did you make?
I made a plan for tomorrow.
Perfect.
And this is how these words appear naturally in conversation.
Not as grammar.
Just as life.
Now here's something important.
Many learners stop speaking because they're not sure.
They think, is it do? Is it make?
But here's the truth. If you say, I did a mistake, people will still understand you. Communication comes first. Accuracy comes with practice. So don't stop speaking. Keep talking. The feeling for these words will grow with time. All right. Now we're going to move into more everyday situations where do and make appear naturally in conversations with friends, family, and coworkers.
Great, let's continue.
Now let's talk about how do and make appear in everyday conversations. Because the best way to learn these words is to see how people really use them. Paul, let me ask you something. What do you usually do on weekends?
On weekends, I do some cleaning, I do my shopping, and sometimes I do nothing.
Doing nothing is very important.
Yes, it's my favorite activity.
That's a very natural sentence. I do nothing. Now let's talk about make in weekend situations. What do you make on weekends?
Sometimes I make lunch at home, and sometimes I make plans with friends.
Perfect. Notice the difference. You do activities, you make plans.
Let's try a short conversation.
What are you doing this weekend? I'm doing some housework.
And after that,
I'm making dinner for my family.
this is real-life English. Simple and natural.
Now let's talk about work situations. At work, people often use do. For example, I need to do this report. I have a lot of work to do. I'll do it later.
These are very common sentences. Sarah, what do you usually do at work?
I do emails, I do meetings, and I do a lot of small tasks.
Yes, many people say, I have a lot to do.
Now let's talk about make at work. People say, I need to make a decision. I made a mistake. I'm making a plan. I need to make a phone call.
Notice again.
With make, something new happens. A decision, a plan, a result.
Let's try a natural example.
I made a mistake in the report.
Or what kind of mistake?
I used the wrong numbers.
That's a very common situation.
And remember, learners often say, I did a mistake. But the natural English is, I made a mistake. Now let's talk about something emotional, because make is often connected to feelings. People say, you make me happy. That movie made me sad. This music makes me relaxed.
Sarah, what makes you happy?
Good coffee and quiet mornings.
That's a good combination. For me, finishing my work makes me happy.
Yes, the feeling of I'm done is the best.
Now let's talk about daily routines again.
If you're listening right now, think about your morning. You probably do your routine, do your exercise, do your work. And you also make coffee, make breakfast, make a list. Paul, what do you do first in the morning?
I check my phone.
That's honest. And what do you make in the morning?
I make coffee. Always.
Coffee is very important.
Now here's something learners often ask. Why do we say do exercise, but make breakfast?
The answer is simple. Exercise is an activity.
Breakfast is something you create, you prepare it, you make it.
You don't need to remember rules. Just remember the feeling. Activity. Do create. Make.
Now let's talk about common everyday phrases.
People say, do your best. Do your job. Do your homework. And with make a choice. Make a list. Make progress.
That last one is very important. Sarah, learners sometimes feel slow.
Yes.
But every day they practice, they are making progress.
Exactly.
Even small steps matter.
Now let's talk directly to our listeners. If you're listening and thinking, this is still confusing, that's normal. Many learners mix these words for a long time. The goal is not perfection. The goal is familiarity. The more you hear, make a decision, make a mistake, do your work, do your homework, the more natural it will feel.
Now let's make a short real-life dialogue. I have a lot to do today.
What do you need to do?
I need to do some work and make a phone call.
Very natural. Or, what are you doing tonight?
I'm doing my homework and making a plan for tomorrow.
This is everyday English. Slow, simple, real. And remember, if you ever use the wrong one, don't stop speaking. Keep going. People understand you. Confidence comes first. Accuracy comes later.
Now let's move into some very common expressions and situations where learners often feel unsure about do and make.
All right, let's continue.
Now we're going to talk about some very common expressions with do and make that you will hear in everyday conversations. Because sometimes the difficulty is not the meaning. The difficulty is remembering which verb goes with which expression. But don't worry, you don't need to memorize long lists. The more you hear these combinations, the more natural they will feel.
Paul, let's start with something very common. People often say, "I'll do my best."
Yes, that's a very important phrase. You hear it at work, at school, and in daily life. For example, can you finish this today?
I'll do my best.
It means you will try hard.
Now let's look at another one. I did my best, but it was difficult.
Very natural.
Now let's talk about another common expression. I need to do some shopping.
Yes, we say do shopping, not make shopping. And also, do the cleaning, do the laundry, do the dishes. These are all household activities. Sarah, what do you usually do at home?
I do the laundry, I do the dishes, and I do some cleaning on the weekend.
Very realistic. Now let's move to make. There are also many common expressions. People say make a decision, make a choice, make a plan, make progress. Let's try one in a conversation. I don't know what to do. You need to make a decision. Or I'm trying to improve my English. You're making good progress.
That's a very encouraging sentence. If you're listening right now, remember this. You are making progress, even if it feels slow.
Now, let's talk about another very common expression. Make time. People say, I need to make time for exercise. I need to make time to study English.
Paul, do you make time to relax?
I try to, but sometimes work takes all my time.
That happens to many people.
Now, let's talk about a common mistake learners make. They say, I did a decision.
But the correct expression is, I made a decision.
Again, decision is something you create in your mind.
So we use make.
Now let's talk about communication. People say, make a phone call, make a reservation, make an appointment. Sarah, imagine you need to see a doctor. What would you say?
I need to make an appointment.
Perfect. And if you call a restaurant?
I'd like to make a reservation.
Very useful expressions for real life. Now let's go back to do. People often say do business, do work, do your job. For example, I'm very busy today. I have a lot of work to do. That's a very common sentence. Now let's talk about daily conversations and imagine this. What are you doing right now?
I'm doing some work. Later, you might say, I'm making a presentation. Again, work equals do. Presentation equals create, make.
Now let's talk about feelings again, because make is often connected to emotions. People say, you made my day. And
that means something made you very happy. For example, thank you for your help. You made my day. That's a warm and friendly expression.
Another one, that news made me nervous, or the music makes me calm. These are very common in real conversation.
Now let's talk directly to our listeners. If you're listening and you still feel unsure, that's okay. Do and make are confusing for many learners. The important thing is exposure. Listen to real English. Notice the expressions. Repeat them in your daily life.
Instead of thinking about rules, try to remember whole phrases. Make a mistake, make a decision, make a plan, do your homework, do your job, do the dishes. Language becomes natural when you learn it in pieces like this. Sarah, do you remember when these expressions started to feel easy for you?
Yes, when I stopped translating word by word and started remembering the full expressions.
That's the key. Listen, repeat, use. And little by little, your confidence grows. Now let's bring everything together and talk about how you can start using do and make naturally in your daily English. Let's finish our conversation by bringing everything together in a simple and natural way.
Because the goal is not to remember many rules. The goal is to feel comfortable using do and make when you speak.
Sarah, let's review slowly. If something is a task, an activity, or work, we usually use do.
Yes. For example, I do my homework, I do the dishes, I do my work, I do some exercise. These are things we complete or finish.
Exactly. And if we create something, produce something, or cause a result, we usually use make.
Right? I make breakfast. I make a plan. I make a decision. I make a mistake. That's the general feeling. Now let's make this more real. Paul, tell me about your morning.
Okay. In the morning, I do some stretching and then I make coffee.
That sounds like a good routine.
Sarah, what about you?
In the morning, I do my emails and I make a list for the day.
That's a very useful habit. And notice how natural this sounds. Not complicated, it's just real life. Now let's talk about a common daily situation.
Paul, what are you doing this evening?
I'm doing some work and then I'm making dinner.
What are you making?
Something simple. Maybe pasta. That's a very natural conversation. Now let's try another one. Sarah, did you make a decision about the trip?
Yes, I did. I made a decision this morning.
And what did you decide?
I decided to stay home. I have too much work to do.
Again, notice the expressions. Make a decision. Work to do. These combinations appear again and again in real English. Now let's talk directly to the listener for a moment. If you're listening right now, try this simple idea. At the end of your day, ask yourself, what did I do today? What did I make today? Sarah, what did you do today?
Today I did some work, I did a meeting, and I did some cleaning.
And what did you make?
I made a plan for tomorrow, and I made dinner.
That's a perfect example.
Paul, what about you?
Today I did my emails, I did some exercise, and I did my shopping. And I made coffee more than once.
Coffee is very important.
Yes, I make coffee many times a day. Now here's something important for learners. Sometimes you will say the wrong verb. You might say, I did a mistake. But the correct form is, I made a mistake. And that's okay. Mistakes are part of learning. Even native speakers make small mistakes sometimes. The important thing is to keep speaking. Confidence comes before perfection. Sarah, what advice would you give our listeners?
I would say, don't stop speaking because you're unsure. If you don't remember, just try. The more you use these expressions, the more natural they will feel. Paul, that's very true. Language grows through use, not through silence. And remember, it's easier to learn full phrases than single words. Try to remember. Make a mistake. Make a plan. Make a decision. Do your work. Do your homework. Do your best. These small expressions will help you sound more natural.
Sarah, I like that last one. Do your best. Yes.
If you're listening right now and practicing with us, you are doing your best. And every day you practice, you are making progress. Even if the progress feels slow, little steps create big results over time. Paul, how do you feel when you see learners improving?
Honestly, it makes me happy because learning a language takes courage. And every time someone speaks, even with mistakes, that's progress.
Sarah, I agree. If you're listening, don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are not a problem. Silence is the only real problem. So keep speaking, keep listening, keep trying.
If this conversation helped you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who is learning English too. Learning together makes the journey easier and more enjoyable. Thank you for spending this time with us. Keep practicing, keep speaking.
And remember, you're not bad at English.
You're just getting better.